Hi folks. So the Democrats are running scared. They're beginning to think Biden might not be up to the task of defeating Trump in 2024 after all. Some of them are even beginning to voice these concerns very loudly. Who would have thought? The argument, of course, is that Biden is too old, that he looks and sounds gaga, that he's too disoriented, more so than Crocodile Dundee in New York, remember? Well, I don't quite buy that argument. When people are feeling good or have the expectation of better days ahead, they're ready to accept almost anything, including old age. Now, I think people are hurting deeply, and they're blaming Biden for it. A lot of it is the fault of the Biden administration, of course. Some of it is not. But Biden is the president. He owns it. It's the way it works in politics. Take crime, for instance. Crime is up about 30% in places like Philadelphia, 30%. In places like Oakland and across the country, people are going on strike to demand protection from the police, to implore protection from the police. Big retail chains across the country are closing down stores because they're losing about $100 billion a year to shoplifting and looting, and so on and so forth. And people are sick and tired of the campaign to defund the police and the cheap sociological explanations of crime that sound too much like justifications. So that's part of the problem. They want solutions. They want them now, not justifications. What about the energy industry? That's another interesting example. Well, oil and gas. Do you remember the hostility against them? Do you remember ESG, environmental social governance? Do you remember the campaign against oil and gas in the name of combating climate change? The idea being, of course, that renewables should replace traditional energy. Well, renewables happen to be too costly, to rely too much on taxpayers' money, and to be very inefficient in the sense that it takes too much traditional energy to produce renewables. So it's not enough to replace traditional energy. You need oil and gas. The problem is the industry is completely undercapitalized. There's been very little investment in recent years in exploration and production. Companies have been inhibited from investing by this campaign. The result is that there isn't enough supply to meet demand. So the price of a barrel of oil has gone up. It's above $90 now. And I think it's going to go up. And that impacts everything in the economy. What about real estate? The average single-family home has risen $100,000 since 2019. Just think of what that does to the middle class, $100,000. What about credit card debt? The average family owes about $10,000. That's a lot of money. Of course, we have to blame people for taking on loans that they shouldn't have taken. But that's not the only problem. There was an environment, a climate that pushed people towards credit. And that was created by the government. The government, meaning the executive power, but also the Federal Reserve. The entire climate, the environment, pushed people towards credit. There was too much credit in the economy. So interest rates were bound to go up. It's one thing to take on a loan at 0% and quite another to pay it back at 5, 6, and 7%. And that was bound to happen. So all of that, I think, is now weighing heavily on people. And they're beginning to look at Trump in a different way. So the Democrats have to make a choice. They either stick with Biden and risk losing to Trump, who's probably going to be the nominee, or they do the courageous thing and they find somebody else. And they better do so quickly if they decide to find somebody else.